everybody. It is Lee Milteer, and I am delighted to be here today. It is my honor and pleasure to be part of a wonderful network called the Grassroots Network. And we are completely in love with being able to share with everybody some solutions to help you in these challenging times. So today I have with me, if I haven't announced that this is Lee Milteer, I have the wonderful and only Michelle Pippin, who I want to share with you in a few seconds. But let me tell you a little bit about our network. Please, underneath, you can see links where you can subscribe to our network. You can also donate to help us, since no one is being paid at this time. We're all volunteering to literally assist people like you with your own truth. And today is going to be super valuable to you because we're going to talk about anchors of truth. What remains stable in an unstable world? And my guest is someone I honestly call a true friend. It's Michelle Pippin. You probably already know her. She is very famous for this great group called Women Who Wow. And I've known Michelle maybe 10 years. And again, let me just say, we've become real friends. And you can't say that about a lot of people. So let me tell you something about her. She's the founder of Women Who Wow, which is an online alliance of seriously driven women entrepreneurs. Now, what started off in my own hometown here in Virginia as a local invite-only mastermind now has become the most exclusive place for women entrepreneurs to gather, and they have members in every state in the United States and 8 countries abroad. That's pretty impressive. She is a podcaster, a best-selling author, and media regular. She has great advice in many magazines, like she has been featured in outlets such as moneyinc.com, Entrepreneur Magazine, that's pretty impressive, Good Morning America Weekend, Inside Business Magazine, Forbes.com, and many, many more. She is a speaker. She has shared the stage with Magic Johnson, Gabby Bernstein, Susie Orman, Melinda Emerson, and now me.
Great.
And she is always delivering the most common sense business strategies that will help entrepreneurs, male or female, succeed on their own terms. She is called the undisputed authority on getting paying clients for your business. She has a passion for helping women, and she will help entrepreneurs increase their income, impact, influence, while truly walking their purpose in life. And she is married to the coolest guy, Chris, who is a public school teacher for over 24 years. And she's now officially an empty nester. So, hello, Michelle.
Hey there. It's so excited to be here with you. It's also super awkward to hear someone that actually knows you, warts and all, in real life, give an introduction, right? A public introduction. So thank you so much for that. I've been looking forward to this since I first learned that you're going to be on the network, and since I found out what you were doing. So I'm just so excited to be here and talking to the people that this network will reach about anchors of truth. It lights me up, and I know it lights you up. So I'm just excited to have this conversation.
Well, thanks. And one of my plans I told you before we started airing is, I'd like for you to be a regular, because you and I talk about this stuff in real life. I mean, we don't have like hour lunches. We have 3 and 4 hour lunches right, because there's so much to talk about. So one of the things that I deeply admire about you, Michelle, not only is your passion to help other people, but your passion to stick to your core values, no matter what people say and do. And I think today, us talking about the subject matter of, anchors of truth, what remains stable in an unstable world. So I think my first question is, let's talk about your particular faith first, like the universal law. We still live in a cause-effect world. So let's talk about how, we have to deal with that every day.
Yeah. So I think that we all have to decide like what we believe in, right? Never has that been more true, right? And so, for instance, and I'm just give you this like one quick like example, which I think could resonate with everybody watching. So when I have faced a cancer scare, right? I've got to decide like what is true, what do I believe in, right? Like about health and longevity. And for me, does it ring true for me? Does it make common sense to me that a poison like chemo, if I inject it in, it would make me healthier, that it would make me live longer, right? And so that to me, while I respect anybody else's decisions, like that to me doesn't ring true. I've got to live according to my own values, and I'm not afraid of dying, right? Like my worldview, I'm not afraid of dying, which makes me kind of an inconvenient person to try to scare or control, right? So first thing is you got to decide what you believe in. What is your ironclad truth about anything that matters to you, whether it's business or money or health or relationships or love or your faith. You've got to settle these things internally, because otherwise, like, what is your compass? Your compass is going to be broken, right? It's going to be spinning all the time. And no wonder people feel lost. So, the first thing I think for everybody is the universal law. You know, obviously, we live in a cause and effect world. But if you want peace and certainty, you've got to decide where that comes from in your world, right? Like you've got to decide your own truths, because that is an anchor in and of itself, right? I don't know how people stand and how they've navigated all of this like conflicting information and fear mongering and from everywhere, right? For everywhere, for everything. I don't know how they do it if they don't first lock in like, hey, what do I believe about this issue, right? What's my truth? And from there, we can make more confident decisions.
Yeah, so well said. So we're going to even go back a little bit from this, go back a little bit deeper in the fact that if we really are truthful from the moment we were born, the school system, society, the teaching, everybody had agendas, and their agendas were that you were to follow their path.
Yeah.
And I think there were a lot of well-meaning people parroting information that they got from the outside world that they didn't vet, so to speak, but they just automatically assume these things are true.
Yes.
And both you and I, we had great parents. They did the best they can, but they were, as like everybody else in the whole world, brainwashed that these are certain things that are true and these are things that are not true. Nowhere in our entire educational system, at least not in mine in Chucky Tuck, Virginia, had any discernment about what was really truth. They were more engaged with like going to school, that you simply memorize everything to pass the test. It wasn't really about learning. And so people learned very quickly to just parrot the opinions of other people. Also, in our brainwashed society, we were told to honor and revere and almost worship certain professions, like the doctor profession, yes, or the government profession, or the education profession. And for anybody who's listen, if you're this far in, you actually listening to us, you actually know that power corrupts, and there has been agendas to create great power structures that the usums of us don't really get to control. But what we do get to control, literally, is who do we listen to? Is our intuition engaged in? Is what we're hearing something's just parroted out, or is it actually the truth? And this is one of the things I've admired about you when you were given, and I was around when you were given this cancer diagnosis, and how fiery rebellion you had with, I'm not playing the game the way everybody wants me to play the game, because I'm not going to make it in the game if I do that.
Absolutely. Right. So to me, it's like, I've got to play according to my own rules. Right. And I can't be doing things that like just don't make sense to me, like that don't that just don't ring true, right? And so I'm very fortunate because like my parents raised me. I don't think it was certainly not their intention. It made it harder on them, but like to question authority, right? Like they would say like, well, who says, right? And they would question little things, and so it raised me to do that same thing. And so to me, I think that a lot of people might be listening and they wonder like, how do you know the truth? How do you recognize it when, two people are coming at you, with two completely differing like, viewpoints, right? How do you know the truth? And I think that's a worthy discussion where we can talk about like, what do you already know to be true, right? So like, there are things that you can build upon, right? So you might not, and I'll just take, if it's okay, like we'll take the COVID situation, right? So what did we know, right? We knew that COVID was a new cold virus, right? Like that's what we knew. And that it definitely killed some people. It killed one of my family members, right? One of the first 1,000 that died in New York City. So we knew that it was a cold virus. We knew that it could be deadly to some, right? And so then we're left with like, what, they're not giving us any information. So here's what I know. I know that I've never before been afraid of a cold virus. I know that what I base my health on is fresh air, right? Sunshine, taking care of my health in terms of eating whole foods, right? Like moving my body, keeping my lungs strong, not smoking, right? So like you can base whatever it is. I'm just using the COVID example. We can use a cancer example. We can use a business example, but it's like whenever you're being hit with so many different opposing viewpoints, as we all are about everything, I think the first thing to remember is that majority is always wrong, right? So that's that. But then it's like, what do I know? Let's start like building kind of a tower of faith for lack of a better word. What do I know beyond a shadow of a doubt? Cold viruses have always existed. I've never been afraid of any of them. Here's what I base my health on. You know what I'm saying? So you start building it. And what happens is you build your own certainty and your own confidence. And you start to be a lot less like, penetratable, right, by these arrows that are meant, as you pointed out in school, like it's meant really to control us, right? And so it can be something as, I'm married to a public school teacher, and what allows a teacher to teach, number one, classroom management, i.e. classroom control, right? They need certain behavior out of these kids so that they can get their objective accomplished. And so you've got to consider where people are coming from. Do they want to control you, right? Do they want to embrace you? Do they want to support you? And is what they're giving you something that edifies or keeps you shrinking back, right? Like nobody good in your life, no one who has your best interest at heart is going to be wanting you to hide and shrink and play small, right? We should be at least suspicious of that and then start to build our own little tower of certainty.
I love that tower of certainty. That's very good. It'd be a book title. So I know when COVID first came out and they talked about it was a virus, I was very struck how odd that was because, if you really research viruses, it's not how they described it at all. And then it was all of a sudden the flip-flopping of the officials of, okay, well, nobody needs to wear a mask right now. It's all good. It's all good. It's all fine. It'll only be 2 weeks. And then suddenly we got to shut down the whole world and everyone has to wear a mask, including in their car while they're driving by themselves.
Can't be too safe.
Yes, to keep us safe. And then the whole 6 foot apart thing and everything about all of this, the inner part of me rebelled and went, this does not resonate truth to me at all. And I kind of stood back and looked at everybody jumping on the fear wagon. And you know what fear, fantasize experiences appearing real. I've also studied history, and I know I study all kinds of history. And I absolutely know if you want people to submit to your power, make them afraid. And every ounce of every newscast in the United States and around the world did nothing but, how many people died in COVID today? I was actually subscribed to the Virginia Beach mayor's feed at one time. I'm not sure why, but I was. And every day he would come out and say, okay, 300 people died of COVID yesterday. And I finally called his office and I said, this is complete BS that you are scaring people to death. Of course, they never answered me, but that's okay. I make a lot of phone calls. Nobody answers when it's complaining about things. So I think what Michelle and I are both saying in union today is that we must observe information, but then have a filter within ourselves of, does this resonate as truth or does it resonate as odd, weird, doesn't compute in your system? Because the minute you get the odd, it doesn't compute, that means that your entire instinct system is trying to say, red alert, something's wrong.
Absolutely. And I think too, like the thing for me, if something is true, right? Like with health or business or, whatever, it's also true in marriage and friendship, right? Like truths are truths wherever they're applied, right? So I use a lot of analogies, not just for like other people, but to help myself, right? So I'm thinking like I'm watching my governor say that, tell me what I have to wear when I leave my house, for my own safety, where I can go, again, for my own safety. In some cases, what I can buy when I'm there. So I'm at Home Depot and I'm not going to risk my life too bad if I'm buying flowers or like plumbing stuff, but I definitely can't buy flowers, right? Again, for my own safety. And so to me, I'm thinking as a woman, I'm thinking, wait a minute. I don't care who it is, if it's my daddy, if it's my husband, if it's a governor. When a man looks at me and tells me where I can go, what time I've got to be home, what I need to wear for my own safety, and what I can buy when I'm there, I'm a hard no, right? Like right away, I'm thinking, this doesn't compute. No man ever admits he's trying to control your every breath because he's a jerk. They all say it's for your own good, correct? Right? It doesn't matter if it's, any of those different roles. So I think too, it's like that filter should be, does this make sense in any other scenario, right? Like, could this apply? And I feel like that's like some of the stuff that was commonsensical that people missed and that gave women like us confidence to keep living our lives exactly as we always had, versus like, staying in fear and hiding out and all of that stuff, right? So I think that it's a really critical thing we can start to do is figure out a lens of, hey, if this is true, could it apply over here, right? Could it apply to my money? Could it apply to my marriage? Could it apply? Because if it doesn't, then it's not true. It's just like, it's distraction.
So for those who haven't researched about the government deciding to brainwash people, you should go look up Mockingbird. Because the CIA, I believe it was in the 50s, decided that they had found a program that they could completely capture the United States population and feed them anything they wanted to feed them by using certain techniques. And one of those techniques was children's rhymes. What are those called?
Nursery
Fairy tale. Yeah,
Oh.
Nursery rhymes. You can tell she's a mother. I'm not.
And a grandmother.
Oh, yes, just beautiful baby. So I started noticing that the television commercials were all about, all these people telling us, stay home, stay safe, get your boosters, get this, get that, and get the other. But underneath, if you truly listen, there was this rhyme to the sound behind all of these messages. And that is a luring sound that the brain will imprint, literally, that message. And if it's done frequently enough and repeated over and over again, and we all know repetition is the true source of learning something, they did it in every single way. But I will tell you, one of the things that really woke me up was all the nurses and doctors in their uniforms dancing in the hospitals, because I've actually been in the hospital, not only myself or people I love, when, real serious things going on. Nobody's dancing.
Right.
Nobody has got time to rehearse a dance recital. So anyway, we're going down wonderful rabbit holes that people, it's not 2 years ago that all this stuff happened. I'm trying to keep my language very clean here, but it's now, it's like, they're really trying to get ready to launch this stuff again with a completely different virus and feed everybody the same stuff. And that's why we want to talk about this. So you mentioned the other day, a couple of minutes ago, the deliberate autonomy. I love the fact that you don't need anyone to approve of you or, agree with you. So let's talk about your safe harbor positioning.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that it's super important if you want to live like confident and secure and sure, and to be able to sustain the way you want to live, like kind of indefinitely, right? Like a safe harbor where to whatever degree is possible for you, you want to have things that that they can't take from you, right? So like in terms of financially, you want to own, right? Like own more than you owe, I guess, right? You want to make sure that you're living, not in not in squalor, but living like below like your means, right? So that you always have a cushion. And this really applies in business because there's a lot of fear in business. And nowadays, like you can't say hardly anything without like offending a gazillion people, right? On every side. And so if you are needing everyone to like cheer you on, whether that is egotistically or personally, like I need a lot of affirmation, or financially, oh my God, I need a lot more people in my program, then, needy is creepy. It's repelling, right? And so you need to get into a position. And again, it's not just financially, but it is like spiritually, it's personally, where I don't need your applause. I don't need your affirmation. All that's already settled, right? So I can go to market and be who I want to be. I don't have to be cringy. I don't have to like hate myself in the morning, right? Prostituting some message I don't believe in. So that safe harbor positioning is something that we can all work to create on a daily basis. And honestly, like freedom and autonomy, that's my thing. So I'm actively looking every day, not in some paranoid way, but I'm like, today, am I more free than I was yesterday, right? Am I more autonomous, right? Or am I getting myself into relationships, positions where I'm starting to need more than I can give? And to me, I feel like that's where we start to, just compromise ourselves in whatever way. And so that safe harbor positioning has never been more important, right? There's a lot of people who, I stand to lose, in the market and things like that. But like, if everything hit the fan, right? Like my family and I are going to be okay, right? Because we've got this safe harbor positioning. So I just encourage people to do that and think of it not just in terms of like, having chickens that can produce eggs, but, also having, a certain core within yourself where you don't need that attention, affirmation, and applause in order to do what you're here to do, right? Like you can do it in a silent room. You can do it when people are, throwing stuff at you because you're in the wrong parade, right? Like you can do it because you've got certain things settled at your core.
Certain things settled at your core. People should write that down, because one of the reasons I believe we're friends is because we both share this very clear sovereignty within ourselves. Yes. A lot of women, don't want to be friends with us because we've actually made something of our life. But here's the secret. We made it. It wasn't given to us. We didn't inherit it.
Yet.
No, we didn't marry it. We didn't inherit it. Right. Dan Kennedy said about me recently, he said, it really is remarkable what you've done with your life, because you grew up with no support, in the middle of nowhere, no networking and no money and no mentors. And that's so true. The fact that you sort of wound your way out of that, that very low place in life where you're so powerless, he said, literally scrapping your way up there is no ladder, but he said, you leap to a position and you stuck to it. And that is very true, that all of us have to, again, access this inner part of ourselves. Who am I? Why am I here on earth? What is my soul experiencing that I can help others? I mean, our real purpose is to be of service to other people, which you and I devote ourselves to.
Yeah.
And yes, for the people we offend, I mean, we both privately laugh at them, but it's true. If we offend you, then that's fine. Bye-bye. Have a nice life. We don't need you. Both of us live beneath our means. And again, for me to live beneath my means, it means that each month I have some savings that I can put into something, whether it's an investment or, land or whatever. I have cushions. So like my business got really wounded during the last couple of years because I wasn't, my main business had always been I'm on stage speaking. And that was my funnel. For those who don't know what funnel means, that my connection to get hired by other people. So I'm very adamant that people start really not accessing the outside world so much, but accessing that inner part of yourself that really is very calm and actually can almost look at the world with humor of, okay, you could drive in the car with your mask on. That's fine. It's just fine. If that's what you want to do, but don't expect me to do that.
That's right.
So the next thing I wanted to talk about was unapologetic confidence. So you just radiate that. So let's play with that.
Yeah. So I'm very blessed and lucky because like I grew up with my parents who cherished me and loved me. And like my mom would always say, oh, she puts her pants on the same way you do, one leg at a time. Right. So there was no there was no homage paid to anybody, like celebrity, friend, foe, politician. It was always like we're all humans. We all had the same things. And so I grew up not thinking about like a them and me, right? Like not thinking about people in levels. And I was always like, I acknowledge that I was born and bred, saying to be confident. But I also know that because I've seen it in my own work, I know that confidence is like a muscle, right? Like you can build your confidence in yourself and you can become the woman who wants the ball when the game is on the line and there's 2 seconds left on the clock, right? Like I'm always going to bet on me literally above any other option that might be available to me, right? And so that to me is what Dan was talking about with you, is that scrappiness, right? There's a certain grit and scrappiness that comes from having to do things on your own, not having a mentor, not having a pay to play, skip button, not having, the internet, where you have easy access to everybody, right? There's some scrappy entrepreneurs if we were here, back in the 1990s, right? So to me, but the confidence thing is something that cannot be faked, but it can be built. And I feel like we pay too little attention to that. And I'm always asked like, well, what's the one thing that I can do to start building my confidence, right? Because there are a lot of people in general, whether it's their, confidence in their ability to succeed, their confidence in the ability to survive, their confidence in the ability to make decisions for themselves, like whatever it is, what can I do to build it? And the very best thing you can do is keep the promises you make to yourself, right? Like so often we are like the good person who struggles with confidence because we keep all our commitments and promises to other people, but we break the ones to ourselves all the time. And so if you're listening and you're struggling with confidence, be mindful of that, right? Like, what are you committing to? What goals are you choosing? What do you tell yourself you're going to do? And then keep those commitments as if your life depends on it. And you will see your confidence, that muscle start to gain strength. And I think it'll surprise you.
That's absolutely true. As a matter of fact, I'm with you. I always tell my clients, I said, look, the most important commitment that you must honor is to yourself, because if you keep telling yourself, let's say hypothetically on Monday morning, I'm going to start exercising. and Monday morning rolls around and you hit the snooze button and you hit the snooze button and you don't have time to do it, and you do that several times in a row, all of a sudden, when you tell yourself, I'm going to do something, the inner part of you is going, well, that's hilarious. You're not going to do that. And it gives you no support because it doesn't, you don't even believe you. Now, not only does that completely destroy your own inner confidence, it destroys the confidence other people have in you, because whether you're aware of it or not, our subconscious minds are communicating all the time. In fact, Napoleon Hill in his book said that our subconscious and conscious minds are like radio stations, that how we truly feel about ourselves is always broadcasting out on a different level that you might not be able to pick up consciously, but you can pick up unconsciously. And that's like when we know you and I'll be in a business meeting and someone will get up and talk and we're looking at each other going, not going to happen.
That's right.
That's never going to happen. I mean, that guy's just BSing all of us or something. So I think when I learned that about confidence, that if I would just honor that, if I wrote down, I'm going to be somewhere at 11:30, come hell or high water, I will go through mountains, over mountains, under mountains. I will do anything in my power to be there. That I'm not one of those people who just kind of float in like I'm the wizard and I'm on time because I'm the wizard kind of stuff. So from Lord of the Rings, but in case anybody hadn't caught that reference, I'm a big Lord of the Rings fan. So I want to talk about the thing that we count on the most, which is ourselves.
Yeah.
So talk about how you've gone through some tough times, and I've known you go through some tough times, but the one thing I know about you is I might be going through this tough time, but I can count on myself. So talk to us about that.
Yeah. So it's funny because I one time I ghostwrote a book and it was called Tougher Than the Times. And it was, it really was based kind of on, I think it was back in 2008 or something like that. But it was based on the fact that, we need to be able to count on ourselves. Like, times are tough, but we can be tougher than the times. Right. And so that was the whole premise of the book. But I think that when you want to bet on yourself, right, when you want to, I feel like we need to understand how important it is, right? Because if we've learned nothing else, we've learned that certain, whether it's like organizations, establishments, like people, leadership, like we can't always count on them, right? So, and I think that's where a lot of people started spiraling in the last several years. Is that, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. That's my grandbaby Zooming me, and I don't know how to cut it off. So the thing with yourself is you've got to understand, like, one, you are the person you should be counting on. And two, that this is something that you're not born with, that you can continue to build and develop, right? And so it can start with just like volunteering for something, right? Saying yes, making a yes commitment when opportunities come your way. I know business owners in particular who filter them through, well, am I ready yet? Or, I'm not sure if I can pull that off. And it's like, what if you took a month and just said yes to the opportunities that came your way? And it's like, I'll get ready, right? That right there will start to build that sense of self. The other thing too, that I think is important is when you can, success in any area can translate, right? So like, I remember when I first started my business journey, right? Married to a public school teacher. I was working in social services. I made slightly more money than he did. And I just wanted to be at home with my kids. And so, but this was, my oldest is 24 years old, right? So like back then, like you heard rumors of people who worked from home. I had $213 in my savings account that I had tucked away, for a rainy day. And there was no, like you said, there's no mentors. People didn't even use email back then regularly. I mean, some people did, but they didn't, like normal people didn't use it. And so the thing is with my, with success is that you can translate it. I remember writing down in my journal and telling myself, okay, if I can, this sounds so silly, but follow along. Like I remember saying, if I can make the cheering team, right? It was a nationally ranked cheering team. I have not a speck of athletic skill or talent, not a speck, right? And so if I can make that cheering team, then I can definitely have, babies without any medical intervention. That was important to me, right? So, and then it's like, well, if I can deliver babies, one of which was like 9 pounds, 2 ounces, if I can deliver babies without any medical attention, then I can definitely figure out a way to like cobble together an income from home. And then when I did that, I just like transferred success, right? Well, if I can make $63,000 from home in that first year, being an at-home secretary, right? Because the term virtual assistant hadn't been created. If I can do that, then I can definitely translate that into business success. I just built this sense of self and I started looking backwards. So wherever you are, no matter, maybe you feel like you've really messed up or you've hidden too long or you've shrunk back or maybe you've lost that belief in yourself, like you can always find pockets of things that you're proud of. If I can do that, then I can definitely do this. If I can do that, and you just build that, right? It's your own story.
I love that. You've said that so beautifully. I remember when I wanted to become a professional speaker and I finally got someone to pay me $500 to come talk to them. And I came home with that $500 like it was like $5 million. Yes. And I said to myself, if I can do this, then I can be a professional speaker. And I didn't acknowledge that if I was counting on me, that I could have confidence in me at the time. But now I know, in fact, I just said this to my staff the other day. We were offering some new thing and we sold 2 of them right away. And I said, hey, that's proof. We've sold 2, we can sell 100, so it's counting on ourselves. And that's what we really need people to pay attention to, is not listening to external authorities saying you can or cannot do something. So it's time for people to start realizing that I think a lot of the darkness of the world is, as my mother used to say, showing your slip. You're showing your weakness or something. We're seeing every day in mainstream news and even backstreet news where people in situations that we really thought were good guys are in reality not good guys at all. And the number of things that they wanted us to do, they were not even doing.
That's right. Yes.
So I don't know if you know this, but people in the government in Australia are apologizing to the people in Australia that they made them go through the lockdowns. There are people in high places around the world retiring, leaving office, doing something, but they're doing this, what we call the apology tour, hoping that they won't get the backlash of what they did for the future. And I do believe people are waking up to the fact that not only do we have a great immune system, if you nurture that immune system, that if you will, I know that you speak, we won't do it today, but I know that you speak a lot on, vaccines and what you think of them. But, they're, like Robert Kennedy is coming out and saying things like, look at the number of vaccine shots that a child gets and look at autism today and look at where autism was, say, 50 years ago or 30 years ago.
That's right.
And people have this brain lock that authorities are going to take care of you. If you learn nothing in the next couple of years, where there's going to be unbelievable whistleblowing and revealing of the truth, is that people are pretty much locked into a lot of agendas that they got paid for or maybe blackmailed into that are completely not true. And that if you listen to Michelle today, talk about how important it is to be sovereign, and then you listen to me, you really do need to ask yourself before you do anything. 1, does this make any sense whatsoever? 2, does my body and mind and heart agree with this? And 3, there has to be a customized solution and remedy for me, because we're all different.
That's
I
right.
mean, look at all, like I'm an O blood type. When it came out and said that the virus didn't affect O bloods, I started laughing. I was like, well, I knew it. I knew it. I'm never going to get that. I say every morning that I wake up, I am the healthiest woman on earth.
That's awesome.
I do. I say today's going to be a fantastic day. I'm the healthiest woman on earth. And today's going to be a great day. That's the very first things I actually wake up and say to myself. And in the last 5 years, I have never had a cold, flu, never been sick, been around hundreds and hundreds of people, not sick, because I believe that my body listens to me. So not only should my body listen, but my subconscious should listen. So listen, I want everybody to know how they can find you. So tell people your wonderful website.
Yeah. So you go to tribeofdrivenwomen.com. And there you will find all my free stuff, any way to connect with me, every way to connect with me. And so it's just a great place to start too. So we can have a conversation and get to know each other a little bit.
Yes. And I can tell you, Michelle's stuff is phenomenal. I really love her stuff, and she's on Facebook. I follow her on Facebook also. And folks, I would like for you to get a gift from me. If you can find me at milteer.com, but you can also sign up for 5 videos that I have done free for you. It's called 5typesofenergy.com, and it is about mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, and financial energy in your currency. Each video is 5 minutes. Once you sign up, a video will come once a day for 5 straight days. These can be played in schools, churches, anywhere. We normally charge $100 for these videos, but we want to reward people who are part of our new network and our show, and having great guests like Michelle to please do that. And also, again, please, you know the drill. Please like and share and subscribe to our network. We would be so grateful. Michelle, thank you so much. Maybe I could have you on real soon and we can talk about some other, really meaty topics. How about that?
I would love that. We'll solve the world's problems one episode at a time, like we do over lunch, right? So yes. Thank you so much for having me. This was really fun. And I think it's important conversations that you're hosting.
Well, thank you so much. And everybody, I am on Wednesdays on Rumble, again, on the Grassroots Network. Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern, and some of them are live streamed, some of them are recorded. But thank you so much for your support. And remember, your point of power is this moment of time. So use it wisely. Thank you. We're going to call it a wrap.